Welcome to another episode of Generally Assembled, your favorite House Republican podcast. Jason Gottesman, joined by Representative Jesse Topper, Republican Chairman of the House Education Committee. You're in town. You have some committee hearings this week.
Yeah, great to be back. We do. We have some committee hearings today and tomorrow. Tomorrow's is on higher education. We're going to kind of take a look at what was done this year in terms of some of the changes and maybe what we still need to do in terms of higher education. Today, we're taking a look at adult education in the Commonwealth. You know, are we able to supply what those who are looking to retool or change their career, or even, you know, for the first time, maybe get that GED or whatever they might be going for. Are we able to do that successfully here in PA? So looking forward to hearing about it, and always a great opportunity to be back with you, Mr.
Yeah,
Gottesman.
of course. Hey, in adult education, isn't that the name of a Hall & Oates album?
It's a song, not an album.
From Hall & Oates.
Yes.
Yeah, all right.
Hall & Oates.
All right, well, there we go.
Adult education and Hall & Oates, just one of the great band names of all time. Like
One of the great Pennsylvania bands.
absolutely, and to look at the, you know, how, I mean, the way those last names were combined. You know, I had a guy that I worked with once that we would kind of play that game whenever we'd hear something, maybe a phrase or maybe a word or maybe a combination of words. Just say, it's a great name for a band. You know, that was kind of and sometimes we'd look at each other, yeah, it was, and then sometimes like, yeah, now on second thought, that's probably not a great name for a band.
Well, you know, I
Like
think
Generally Assembled, not a great name for a band. Great name for a podcast.
Yeah, great name for a podcast. That's true. Underrated Hall & Oates song, though, Fall in Philadelphia. If anybody wants to hear a really good B-side of Hall & Oates, Fall in Philadelphia.
Fall, as in the season
F-A-L-L,
in Philadelphia.
In Philadelphia.
Yes.
Yep.
I'm going to have to go back and check out some tracks.
Yeah, it was good. It's good. All right, so you know, here we are. It's mid-September, literally halfway through. We're doing this on the 16th, because every month is 32 days. That's a math joke for those of you returning to school out there who might be listening, or maybe engage in a little bit of adult education.
It is back to school, yes.
Yeah, and I think it's a good time to sort of reflect on, with just a limited number of session weeks of substance that are coming up here at the end of September here in October in the House, sort of some of the missed opportunities. Because I think this session has been hallmarked by a number of missed opportunities for a number of reasons. I mean, you look at some of the more popular reforms that have been left out there. Voter ID, which has 70% support, over 70% support of Pennsylvanians. School choice. Something which there was a lot of high hopes for coming into this term. You know, this issue of, you know, skill games and mass transit still out there. Regulatory reform, things that we've put out there that seem common sense that would help, you know, enhance our economic climate. And then also, you know, some of these other taxes that we've talked about before, you know, accelerating the CNI reduction that we started under House leadership, Republican leadership, over the last few years. You know, a lot of those things haven't gotten done. It's kind of been a lot of, you know, a lot of things have gotten done, but certainly there has been a lot of things, big ticket items, very popular items, things that could move Pennsylvania forward that, due to whether you want to say the House rules, you know, partisanship, outside influence, have not gotten done.
Well, I think that's the key. I mean, look, there's always, we can always sit back as Republicans, and I'm sure Democrats can do the same thing, and look at some of our, you know, true ideological issues to say, yeah, we really want to get that done, but that we also know that in the realm of divided government can't get done.
Yeah.
The things that you mentioned, and some things that I'll throw out there, like the elimination of the accelerated sales tax, which we had a hearing on in the Finance Committee, and actually multiple Democrats spoke and said, absolutely, this is a good idea. So, you know, you talk about school choice, but the governor came out in favor of that particular school choice program that was out there, the past scholarships and then Lifeline. You know, we've seen the permitting reform, which we did get some done. I mean, that did come through a little bit of the budget, but we wanted to take a bigger swing at that. Those were not just Republican issues. Voter ID, not just a Republican issue. As you said, they're a public issue. People in the public, it's something that we hear in Republican and Democrat districts. We've had Democrats who have come out in favor of all those things we just mentioned. So those are the real missed opportunities. Look, I get it, right? We have the Democratic governor, a Democratic House majority, a Republican Senate. Nobody's going to get everything they want, and everybody's view of a missed opportunity is going to be different. But the things that we just highlighted, those are areas where there has been widespread agreement, and we still haven't been able to get those done. I think that's really what we need to focus on. I get that question all the time with all the work that was done in education this year, and policy and funding. And, well, hey, what's still out there? Well, look, I still believe that we have to figure out a way to address some of these kids that simply are not going to be able to achieve their full potential in a public school setting for whatever reason. How do we make sure they don't fall through the cracks? And then also, I think another thing is we have to look at our career and tech centers. It to me, in the year 2024, the idea that school districts such as a couple of the ones that I represent are still turning away 35, 40, 50 kids. Turning away, we cannot, the kind of education that you seek, we simply can't provide it. We're out of space. We're out of resources. The fact that we're investing all this money into public education, and yet that is still happening, and in some school districts, hundreds of kids left on a waiting list to be able to access the education that they believe they need to be successful in life, and putting them putting them on a track that they don't want to be on, and that very well might set them up to not achieve the results they want to achieve. It's 2024. Shouldn't happen. Again, something that I've heard broad agreement on from everywhere, but we gotta work on getting that done. That's going to be definitely a priority of mine, going into next session. I understand we're at the end of this one. It's going to be hard to get major things done, but suffice to say, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done, a lot that was left on the table, even in spite of the fact that there were, definitely some wins this year.
Yeah, and I think, much to some of the work and things that we've been talking about on this podcast, education is an area in which there has been success in moving, despite school choice not getting done or the issues with career and technical education.
That side of school choice.
Especially in higher education.
Right, but we did, and I do believe we were able to get, sometimes there's wins by what doesn't happen. I mean, there were some definite threats to school choice as well that were out there that I think we were able to navigate some of those waters. But we definitely need to do better. And then, like you said, the higher education, a lot of transformational stuff. And we're going to need to see how some of that starts to flesh out here over the next year. Some of it has been delayed by what was going on with the federal government in terms of FAFSA at the federal level, and we have to figure that out. So looking forward to tomorrow's hearing. But look, we made strides. There were strides that were made in all of the aspects, again, like permitting reform. But we need to do more, and there's so many areas that even in divided government, and one of the things I heard the governor say, as we all remember, back to his, I want to say it's an inauguration speech, but his first speech, I guess that's what it was. Yeah, it was an inaugural address. He said, "Look, there's certain things that are off the table for me. I'm not going to talk about, not going to compromise." And what was disappointing was sometimes those issues that we weren't, quote, going to talk about seemed like they did come up, knowing full well that there was no agreement. And I feel like those kind of politics got in the way of some of the things you mentioned, trying to get done, things that there were some consensus on. So we just, look, if we really want to see some of this stuff done, it comes down to governing as opposed to politics, and we need to get to it.
Yeah, and it seems like the fall session we have here, it looks like some of the bigger ticket items people are going to be looking at are, possibly this issue of skills games, one way or the other, and then how that might tie into mass transit funding, whether it does or does not. It's all one of the things that I tell people is that, these ideas are good in concept, and even though you might have groups like the House Democrats and the Senate Republicans, let's say, or House Republicans and Senate Democrats that agree in principle on, okay, here's how we want to make sure that here's how we want to solve this. We want to use this plus this. It's really the details of how a lot of that stuff comes together, especially with things as massive as legalizing and regulating skills game, and then, dealing with this issue of mass transit. It's, the two ideas are, there's so many different.
It's one of the most difficult things as a lawmaker, public policy maker to really answer in the public is, where are you at on this issue? Well, the overall issue I can tell you. But as I always tell folks, the devil's in the details.
Yeah.
There can be a bill that is about an issue and even has the name that makes it sound like it is what you're in favor of. But then there are those things that are in the bill. Remember, we don't just vote on ideas. We vote on laws, right? They're actually written down. There are times when it's like, well, no, that's not the best way forward. Yes, maybe we agree with it in concept, but if you can't come to an agreement on the actual law being written, that's what holds some of it up. And that's, but look, that's every year, right? That's not just this year. I do feel, though, like this year there were a lot more of those missed opportunities. And yes, we can look at the big ticket item for the fall, but it's very difficult. It's very difficult this time of year.
Yes.
At the end of a session, at the end of a 2-year session, to all of a sudden, get major public policy issues complete.
Well, hey, look, we're also at the end of another season, baseball season.
Yeah.
And, man, the Phillies
then we
just
gotta
came off
talk
of a
about
big series against the Mets. Took 2 out of 3
Yay.
games. Hey, well,
Sorry,
look,
listen,
at least the Phillies are selling tickets.
So, as a lifelong Pirates fan, and I'm not going to sound bitter. There were so many positives this year. Talk about missed opportunities. I mean,
Yeah.
At one point when you looked at the pitching staff of Paul Skeens, Jared Jones, and Mitch Keller, like it was one of the and come the All-Star break, there was contention. Like we as though like I'm part of the team. We were in the mix,
you're a fan.
right? We're in the mix.
Fans are part of the team.
Potentially, look at what, and then we hit that 10-game losing streak, whatever it was. But because during that whole time, like, look, if we just could get in the playoffs, who wants to face those 3 pitchers back to back to back? And then Jones got hurt. But Paul Skeens has been electric. I mean, watching him even at the All-Star game, my son and I got a chance to see him in person the night that he went back out for the 9th inning. I haven't seen PNC Park like that since the playoff run with McCutchen the first time around. And there was, but just by this time of the year, it just feels like you're beaten down. It's tough. It's tough to watch year after year after year. Now, that being said, I will give credit to our cross-state brethren. I mean, they're playing really well right now. Castellanos is playing the way I think.
The right people are getting hot at the right time.
Exactly. And, of course, anytime you're watching Bryce Harper, you're watching a transcendent talent play baseball. So, good luck to him. Hopefully that they'll be able to keep it going this year.
And that's like the way you say good luck to them when you're like getting in a breakup. Yeah, good luck to you. Good luck to you. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
when somebody's buying your house, good luck to you.
Yeah, good luck with it. No, it's just
Gonna need a hot water heater in 6 months.
Yeah, it's not really that we don't like the Phillies. It's just that it reminds us as Pirate fans of what we don't have. However, the Steelers off to a 2-0 start. And I think have a little bit of life, a little bit of a pulse that we're seeing that maybe was different over the past couple of years. So I like the look of that. And obviously we have not been here for a little while, but the way our boy Scotty Scheffler finished his season
answered all the questions about whether he had the better
the
year as
Olympics.
Xander.
I mean, the Olympics to me was that was the day that
Yes.
Olympic final round was the moment that it's like, no, he's the best player in the world. He showed it again and again and again. And yes, he did have the best year.
Yeah, I mean, Tiger Woods-esque in so many ways. Not only did he win 7 times, but the off-course drama of the unjustified arrest, him having a child, like it was all Scotty Scheffler all the time. I think the impressive thing that Xander did, though, was win 2 majors. I wouldn't say he did it quietly, but flew under the radar and had
PGA
a great
wasn't
year.
quiet because the PGA had Bryson in the mix. And it was so dramatic.
Right.
The British Open was the one that felt a little quiet to me. It just kind of
came from behind.
in there, came from behind. And look, it's what Scotty did at the Olympics. That was the one thing that when Tiger was at his peak, we didn't see a whole lot of come from behind victories. Because Tiger would be in the lead on Sunday, and they called him, he was the closer. Like, you didn't come back on Tiger. I said the only time was like Y.E. Yang at Hazelton for that PGA Championship.
I remember.
But other than that, but it seems like with those 2 guys in particular, they're okay coming from deep. And we saw that at the British with Xander, who played. I mean, that he just went out and won that. Like, nobody really came back to the field. The Olympics, Rahm kind of let that one slip a bit. But Scheffler, and I'll tell you the other thing is to come back and win at East Lake, where he kind of had, a little bit of bad memory the past couple years.
Yep.
And the week before at the BMW, That was the week before, right? Not
Yep.
2 weeks. Yeah, he was not having a good week. In
Yep.
fact,
he didn't play well the first two playoff events,
and
the
showed
FedEx and
the kind of emotion that you don't normally see.
what it was
from
with his
Scotty.
ball striking too. He just wasn't
Yeah.
the things that he was strongest at. He wasn't doing well, and but
he
you know,
came back,
it's-
he closed, and he's the best in the world. No doubt.
Yeah, well, and Tiger Woods, we mentioned his name, just had back surgery, so we wish him well. We know he's a big fan of the pod.
First of all, does he actually if he would ever listen? That would be amazing.
If Tiger Woods ever listened to this podcast, I would just hang it up.
Yeah, that would be like okay, we're there. But does he play in a U.S. Open again?
I think so. I think he's undergoing these operations
So he can
to play.
Like I believe he'll play in the Masters and the British Open the longest.
Yes, I think he will. I think for at least 2 to 3 years, he will live by his promise of playing. Not promise, but his speculated best at once a month.
I didn't realize how until I heard some commentators talking about it. Because I thought I don't know that we'll ever see Tiger on like the Champions Tour, right?
Right.
But I didn't think about this. But apparently, one of the things he has mentioned multiple times is he will because he wants to win the U.S. Open at every level.
That is true.
He wants to win the
But
U.S.
that's not
Amateur.
playing the senior tour. That's just
Playing the majors.
Qualifying,
Right.
for the senior open.
But that is something. So I thought, well, maybe he'll want to do the same with the British. I mean, I don't know, maybe, but he wants to win every USGA
right.
major event
That would be
at some
quite the
point in
feat.
his life, other than the ones that he can't compete in. Solheim Cup.
Yeah, Solheim Cup.
Yeah.
Man, I was terrified we were going to lose that thing yesterday. I was at Hershey Park refreshing the score, and when you saw Nelly Korda go down 6-5
Mm-hmm.
or 6-4, whatever it was, and then Allison Lee, who's such a strong player, getting whooped by Georgia Hall.
Yeah, but the young guns.
I mean, we lost match play.
Yeah.
We lost the day yesterday,
Yeah.
but we did enough earlier in the Solheim.
and the
that's been our
European-
downfall.
right.
Is the match play. We've had big leads going into the
Right.
final day before.
Well, you mean with the Solheim Cup?
With the Solheim Cup.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
just the opposite with the Ryder Cup. Sometimes we can't overcome, even though we're really good in singles.
Right.
We can't overcome what happened
Right.
the 2 days before.
Well, I'm worried about the President's Cup, man. I don't think we're going to win that thing this year. I don't think we're winning the President's Cup.
Really?
I think we're in trouble.
Chuck, hot take alert. This is. I mean, when was the last?
We did this last year. This is the exact same
Yeah, but
thinking thing.
no, that was Ryder Cup.
Was it?
Yeah, it was Ryder Cup. And that was on me.
All right,
I
take the bets, gentlemen.
Ryder Cup was me being emotional. I knew what you were saying about the European team. I knew what you were saying about being over there, and I didn't want to believe it, so therefore I didn't.
Yeah.
But the President's Cup.
I mean, Adam Scott is coming in smoking hot. He placed in the top 5 in every playoff event. He's the longest tenured President's Cup player. Minwoo Lee, Ben On, Tom Kim, plus all that's in Canada, and you have all these Canadian players. Mike Weir's the captain.
Okay,
they're going
let's
to be
stop.
they're going to be
Stop.
fired up.
Stop.
They're going to be and our
There's
our
nobody. There's
captain's
no
picks-
one in the world that goes. You know where the toughest place to play is?
But they have all these Canadian players.
Canada.
They have all
I
these
don't-
Canadian players.
I don't care if that.
Plus, on top of all the
Yeah,
talent,
but
so you got all these guys playing in front of
No.
their home country.
That never has had the same effect in the President's Cup. We've beaten them in Australia. Listen,
I'm telling you, there's so much professional golf in Australia.
we just talked about the 2 best players in the world, Scotty and Xander. We've got them.
I
got
think if Scotty and Xander go 4-0,
Then
all the more
it's-
power to them.
It's blowout time.
But I don't think that's going to happen. I think our captain's picks are weak. I think the point system left us with people who are not great team players. I think we're in trouble. I'm not saying
Worst captain's pick in your mind was whom?
Oh man, probably Max Homa. He's coming in terrible. He's in terrible shape.
You know how many times Ian Poulter came in the Ryder Cup in terrible shape?
Even-
There's just
I don't even
there
think
are
Max
some-
Homa wanted to be
There are
picked.
some guys you want on the team, right? Sergio, Ian, it didn't matter how they played Europe. And look, that's why we went. That's why I was kind of a little bit, fired up about the whole Justin Thomas controversy. Like, well, he didn't make it on points. No kidding. We changed our system because the guys who were making it on points every year were going up and getting beat by Ian Poulter and Sergio Garcia. And you know what I mean? Like there are certain people who just rise to the occasion. I feel like Max Homa was one of them. I really do.
Look, I
I
want
think it's
to
going to be close.
I want to be
I think it's going to be closer than some President's Cup. I'm going to go USA wins by 2.5 points.
Oh boy, I don't know what the score is going to be. I'm just not feeling good.
Okay.
I'm not feeling good.
I mean, this is 2 years in a row where you've gone against the red, white, and blue.
I don't want the international team to win.
Right.
I just don't feel good. Like,
But you have this way of speaking tragedy into existence when it comes to golf.
it's not tragedy when it's completely avoidable. You know, so
well,
many
who would your captain's picks have been? If you're Jim Furyk. I mean, now you're talking about Jim Furyk potentially being the first.
Bryson. I'd have taken Bryson.
Yeah, we got to get that figured out with the lift stuff. For Jim Furyk to lose twice, lose once as a Ryder Cup captain and as a President's Cup captain, that'd be tough on him. That'd be tough on his career image. I think.
It's a Pennsylvania guy.
I know. I want him to succeed.
I don't know. I don't see it.
Well, listen. As we do, we'll break down the hard-hitting events of the President's Cup when they happen.
Very good. Well, in a classic episode of Generally Assembled, we got about 30% policy, 70% sports.
You're welcome, Pennsylvania.
And I'll leave you with this deep thought because I saw it right before I came down here. There are more planes in the ocean than submarines in the sky. All right. That's Generally Assembled for this week. We will see you all on behalf of Jesse Topper. I'm Jason Gottesman. And while he's looking down in shame, trust me, we will see you all very soon. VAHouseGOP.com/my-podcast. Apple. We're on Spotify, and we're on the YouTubes. And that's it. See ya.